Hi guys, it's Max from prismatic.org and I hope you're all doing good. Today I want to talk to you about willpower, how to master willpower, and also let you in on a little secret about willpower which might help us along the way. It's all very common, isn't it, to hear people commenting, oh, you're so strong, or you've got such self-restraint, such willpower. And it's very easy to look at people who appear very proficient in enacting on what they set themselves out to do, who seem to move through life with a certain amount of congruence and purposeful action, whereas on the other hand, some people just seem to be completely without willpower and despite best intentions have almost zero follow through and fall prey to pretty much every intention that comes their way. Now, it's very easy to think that the former group, those who appear strong with great willpower, that they are up in their heads slaying down every bit of temptation that comes their way with almighty strength. And it's also easy to assume that the latter group are weak in some way. There always will be an element of strength. There always will be an element of being able to cope with bigger and bigger issues. But the only way to develop strength, I'm afraid, is to go through it. There's no shortcut to building strength. You've got to go through and deal with those things. And that's not really what I want to talk to you about today, because strength isn't really the primary deciding factor in how well we stick to our decisions and how well we follow through with congruent action. There is actually a very important other side to the coin, which I would refer to as agility. More often than not, this isn't actually a question of strength at all. This is a question of internal conflict. One storyline in their head is saying you really shouldn't have that. The other one is saying, oh, could I have it? Would it be so bad if I just had it this one time? Or could I find a way to justify this? So there's clearly a lot of conflict. Their mind is not working in unison, and they're not only wasting a lot of energy as a result of that, but ultimately that just manifests in a lack of follow through. The easiest thing in the world is to do nothing. If you were stuck on a desert island with no alcohol, not even a bottle of rum, maybe the occasional rotten coconut, but not drinking alcohol would be pretty easy, wouldn't it? As in, there would be zero temptation. You'd just be like, well, there's no alcohol here. Guess I can't be tempted. It would be so easy. The problem arises when in our brains we're conflicted and we think that on some level having alcohol, even when we've said to ourselves that we won't, we've said to our friends that we won't, is still some kind of an option. So in order to develop agility, we actually need to go back to our decision and remove that option altogether. All temptation comes from storylines, and storylines arise from this conflict because on some level we haven't really convinced ourselves that actually following through on what we've decided is even a good idea at all. We've left ourselves open to another option because we haven't really made our minds up. Here's how to master your willpower. Make really strong decisions. In other words, if you want to give up alcohol for a month, let's say, that's it. You can't have it. It's not a question of, oh, I really shouldn't have it. You just can't. And in order to make that strong decision, we need to go back a step still and really understand why we're doing this. Do we really think that giving up alcohol for a month is going to benefit us more than it costs us? Is this a transaction that we actually want to enter into? And maybe it isn't, and if it isn't, that's absolutely fine. But let's be honest with ourselves and others that it's not the right choice for us, and we might actually end up deciding, hey, look, let's be honest with ourselves here, I probably will end up drinking over the next month because I haven't decided it's even worth it. But for the rest of us who actually think that giving something up, say, for a month is probably a good idea, we need to go back right to that understanding, weigh up the pros and the cons, and attach ourselves to the result logically and emotionally, and really examine both outcomes. What happens if I do? What happens if I don't? And in doing that, it makes making a really strong decision a hell of a lot easier. And once you make that really strong decision, after a month's over, go ahead, fill your boots. But for the next month, I am, no matter what, not going to be drinking alcohol. And then guess what? We've not left any alternatives open in our own heads. There's no more conflict. The storylines just dissipate, and suddenly it's actually a lot easier. The storylines just go away and we just can't have it. That's it, decision made, job done. And so it's somewhat of a misconception that those who follow through on their words have just immense strength alone. They also have agility, and that comes from setting really strong decisions from the get-go and therefore quietening down the storylines that come from leaving the windows open, leaving the other options open. Stories come from a misunderstanding, they come from a lack of awareness. We need to go back to that first step, which is that awareness, it is that understanding. Only then can we actually make a solid decision, and only on that can we really follow through with mere tenacity. The rest is easy. Hope that's useful, guys. If you found that useful, please click subscribe below, and I shall chat to you next time.